So this is another uneventful level that's mostly about combat. Although, Shamar Night 3 and 4 definitely have more platforming and bottomless pits. So, there's still some tense sections. The biggest problem I have with this level is that it's dark and confusing. What I mean by that is, it's kind of hard to tell sometimes what's the floor and what's a pit. Because sometimes you might think that it's a floor and it's just that a shadow is cast onto it. So you run towards it and fall to your death. That's not going to be a problem until later though. There are some level segments that aren't used in Unleashed's final game. Although they can still be accessed in the game's Xbox 360 version with glitches. These areas were later recycled as levels for the DLC of the HD versions, called Adventure Packs. A number of changes were also made in these areas, which can be seen by people using the Werehog's combo trick to clip through a wall and access them, which is actually pretty cool. For example, Jungle Joyride Act 1 in Night. After the goal ring, there's a sealed door. By using the wall walking glitch, it's entirely possible to cross through this door. There's a largely unused empty chamber within, and if accessed from the ghost mission instead of the main level, the door will be open, and there'll be objects in it. There's a tree that can be knocked down and used as a bridge, floating platforms, and switches that raise the water level. The platforms in the kill zone still raise, but the room's unique water level puzzles are clearly unfinished, as the water graphics stay completely in place. Beyond the door at the top of the room is an ornately detailed chamber containing the level's original goal ring. I don't really like these platforms because they look so bright that they look more like a square-shaped golden light. And it's because they're so featureless looking, it's kind of hard to tell. It's kind of hard to tell one part of it from another. It kind of messes with your depth perception. And see exactly what I mean? I thought that there might have been a floor there. Every breakable wall looks different depending on what level you're in, because it changes aesthetic accordingly. So, it can be easy to not get the idea that something's a breakable wall because it doesn't look like the previous breakable walls. This section is obviously pretty tense. You have to walk along narrow areas, and I wish that the camera was directly behind me. And of course I died because I used the dash attack by accident. So this is a pretty tense section. It's really not that fun. It forces you to take it slow in a Sonic game. And I'm fine with slow in a Sonic game when it leads to platforming, because that's satisfying in its own way. What's not satisfying is just going slow, and that's it. These guys are pretty annoying because they have such long reach. And the fire can knock you back, even though it's not a solid object. So it feels kind of cheap, the fact that it can knock you into a pit. But yeah, there's some more unused level segments that show up in the HD version. After the goal ring in Arid Sands Night, there's a sealed door. By jumping onto it from a well-positioned water barrel and using the uppercut followed by pressing Y, and then aim in air, the player can fall into an unused canyon area. It's empty, but you can open the sealed door from the other side. Bring water barrels to the bottom of the chasm, stack them, and do an uppercut grab to go on them. Oh, here we go. This is the most Mario-esque part of the entire game. This is so boring. How is this Sonic-like in any way? You're just waiting. That's literally all you're doing. The platform isn't even that hard. Anyways, there's a huge chunk of the level in Arid Sands Night that's almost completely empty. Go on through it, and there are, among other things, 2 pillars the player can knock down, which don't appear anywhere else in Unleashed. Eventually you'll reach a pit that's uncrossable without objects to bridge the gap. And beyond it is a fairly large stretch of land leading up to the Gaia Temple. So that's pretty weird. Like, all the unused areas, they tend to contain gimmicks that are never actually used in the final game. It may be tempting to try to use these metal crates here, but there's a whole bunch of problems with that. For one, they don't deal much damage. For another, you could easily accidentally try to pick them up. And like, sometimes you can make it so that the werehog tries to pick up the enemies instead. And the most important problem is that sometimes, well, the metal crate gets in your way. And so you're trying to attack the enemies, but the metal crate just gets in your way. So you'll end up regretting using it at all. Another big problem with this is that you can't really see whether you're jumping or not when you're behind these guys, because they're so big. So right now it can be kind of hard to tell when you're in the air so that you can do the mid-air special attack. So you're better off not trying to use the metal crate against these guys, because as you can see, the metal crate just gets in your way, and like, you can be jumping on top of the metal crate, and you might be too high up to actually hit them. So the metal crates really just overcomplicate things. And like, I don't even feel like the metal crates do more damage. Which is weird because they're made of metal, so you think that they would hit harder than the wooden crates that break. Yeah, that wasn't really that bad. I definitely think that the werehog levels go on far too long. But I can't emphasize enough that 6 minutes is really nothing compared to 25 minutes for a werehog level in the HD version. Shamar Night 4 isn't really significantly more difficult than the previous one. Like, after I beat Shamar Night 3, I was kind of paranoid that it was going to be much harder just because I was having such an easy time. But it's really not that bad. It's just more combat sections. You lift up a door, which isn't really that fun, it's just padding. Like, there's really no strategy involved, you just press X. And like, yeah, this isn't tedious at all. You have to go up to every individual door and lift them all up. The night levels of Empire City and Chunnan are also containing some unused areas. Well, Empire City also has a javelin throwing gameplay gimmick for the werehog, which was never actually finished entirely. This gimmick was never reintroduced for the area's corresponding Adventure Pack DLC. It can be found in the mission called Play It Cool. So why did they bother reintroducing it if they weren't going to finish it? I don't know. And again, these things remind me of Death Mountain from Twilight Princess. And here we go. This is something that the HD version makes you do a lot more. There's a lot of boring sections in the HD werehog levels, where you constantly have to walk around really slowly holding something. At one point in HD version Shamar Night, you have to spend a really long time picking up a whole bunch of different switch presser downers and just bring them all to certain switches. And it's just really tedious, it just drags out the level. But yeah, it's a good thing that you were able to just walk past those enemies instead of attacking them. And like, all you had to do was just throw the water barrel and that was it. In general, the Wii version's werehog levels have a lot less tediousness in them. Like, they have a lot less tedious, slow bouncing on narrow platforms and stuff. A lot less slowly carrying objects around. And the Wii version has a lot of gimmicks that the HD version doesn't, which are usually pretty acceptable. But yeah, these fire wizards are really annoying. It's especially annoying when you accidentally dash into the water barrel that you need to douse them with. And I swear, their hitboxes are way too small for their own good. I know that I hit them with the water, and they did get doused. At least the fire wizards can sometimes be polite enough to only attack you one at a time, although I could have sworn they were swarming me there. I think the fire wizards are definitely the most annoying version of the wizards. I think in the HD version, there are wizards that can actually heal the enemies, which are really annoying when they work in tandem with the shockwave enemies. And of course, the fire wizards have this sort of boost, like their Metal Sonic, where they just boost forwards surrounded by fire, which can be pretty annoying. Something I haven't pointed out yet is another huge plot hole. For some strange reason, Tails, Amy, and Professor Pickle aren't affected by Dark Gaia like the Professor's assistant Sonic and the civilians are. Why? The explanation is that they just haven't been around for long enough. Well, first off, that doesn't make any sense. What's special about them that makes them take longer to be affected by Dark Gaia? And they're around all the civilians who are affected by Dark Gaia. And it is such a missed opportunity not having Tails and Amy and whatever get possessed by Dark Gaia, because that would have made the plot more interesting and suspenseful. Maybe we could have had a special boss fight with Tails.
This iron crate.
Really, Chip? I'm pretty sure that iron can be melted, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to make anything with it. Like, I guess it's less flammable than normal. But yeah, I'm literally resorting to throwing it repeatedly because it's faster than walking. And like, did Chip really have to tell me that? Like, all I had to do was pick up the iron crate and put on a switch. I didn't need to take advantage of the fact that it's fireproof at all. I think what you're meant to do is place the iron crate on top of the fire shooters so that the fire doesn't come out. That never really occurred to me though. Because I saw a switch, so I just put it on the switch. So Chip interrupting my gameplay was completely pointless. I think that there's some more. Oh, bullshit! The water very clearly hit that 30 ring to the right of me. Like, the water very clearly hit the fire, but for some reason, it didn't get extinguished. And like, it's such a tedious chore just trying to accurately throw the water barrel at anything at all. So why did they make it so that it's so difficult just to get the 30 rings free? I don't feel like the throwing is very accurate. And of course it's very easy to use the miss attack by accident. I think that there are more 30 rings in this room. Well, I say room even though it's outdoors. But yeah, there are more 30 rings in this room, but you can't see them because the camera doesn't pan out far enough. And look at how much damage that did. Although again, these guys aren't nearly as annoying as the ones in the HD version. They also don't seem as big. They really aren't that big of a deal. They're very slow, so just keep going behind them and spamming the mid-air special attack. The only problem is when they turn around completely and just hit you with their club. But even if you run out of health, because it's the Wii version, you'll just get right back up again and keep being able to fight him right from the spot. So it's really not that big of a deal. See? I didn't even notice that these things were there because the camera didn't pan out to show me them. But finally you reach the goal. And like, not one of the Shamar Night stages lasted 13 minutes. So they're pretty short. The way that you have to get high ranks in the Werehog levels is just to break everything and collect everything. That's basically it. And again, I don't think that ranks should be based on how much of a kleptomaniac you are when you're going through a level. Professor Pickle says that Sonic should rest here. That brings up another interesting question. Just how much rest has Sonic gotten? I mean, during the day, he's spending all of his time in the day stages. And during the night, he's spending all of his time as the Werehog. So how does this not mess up his sleep cycle? Does he go to sleep to get to a different part of the day? Like, you can switch between night and day at will at a certain point. Is that what he does? Does he sleep for 24 hours a day? Like, how does this not mess up his sleep schedule and become really hard to adjust to not doing? The only explanation I can think of is that Sonic the Hedgehog gets his rest while he's turned into the Werehog, who is able to keep being active.